Hi.
For life?
Hi.
Checking.
So, how are you doing? Please, I just um, started the live video to check that everything is working properly. Hi. So, please let me know if you can listen to me. Again, my husband, Nico, is going to be here trying to help me with this cooking class. Okay, so I am going to wait until a little bit of more people join so that I can start with the little bit about making empanadas, which is what we are going to be making today. Okay, so I'm going to stay here for a little bit, and if you have any questions or anything, always please write them down, and I'm going to try to answer all of them. I'm going to. It's with a delay, right?
Yes, it
Yes.
has a slight delay. So
Okay.
people are saying hi and people are connecting. So,
Okay.
but it's just 2 o'clock. So
No, it's
some people
okay.
may
I
be
wanted
delayed.
to be here a couple of minutes in advance so that we could check that everything is working properly. Hi, Carolina. We're waiting for more people to join so that I can start with the class. Um, well, we'll wait for what time is it?
It's 2:01.
Okay, we will wait for about 2 minutes and then I'm going to start. And of course, this is going to be recorded. So then anyone who joins later or wants to see this later on a video, they're going to be able to follow the class. And of course, I'm going to be posting on Instagram later the recipe. So you can always go to Taste of Real Food, which is my Instagram account, and you can check the recipes or send me a message. And if you have any questions, hi, how are you? Carolina, Trisha, Amy. Okay, I was telling that I'm waiting for a couple of more minutes so that more people join, and then I'm going to start with this class. I don't know if. Hi, Ellie, how are you? Now this is the time to make empanadas. You need to make your boys make them. Perfect. Okay. So 1 more minute, and I'm going to start with this. And as I said, today I'm going to be posting this recipe on Instagram. So my Instagram account, which is Taste of Real Food, and then you can check it out. And of course, you can always write to me, send me a message, call me, or anything if you have any questions. Okay. Um, so I am from Argentina. Argentina is a country in South America where we make empanadas, but all around Latin America, empanadas are made. It is my belief that empanadas started in Spain. When you travel to Spain, you see empanadas in many places. So, what I want to say in advance is that this recipe that I'm going to be making is like one of these dishes that there are 1,000 of recipes, okay? So, I am going to be sharing one of my recipes because to make a dough, there are different ways to make it. And also, I am going to be making that. It's my son Benjamin over here. Yo. Okay,
Okay,
Ben,
then.
sorry about it. Um, so what we're going to be making it's a dough that I use to bake empanadas. Okay. Um, in Argentina, there are fried empanadas, but it's not something that we usually have. Most of the times when we make them at home, we bake them. So I am going to use one recipe that has butter, flour, salt, and water. And it's a dough that you can use 10 minutes after it's done. Okay, of course, the more you wait to use it, the dough is going to be more easier to manipulate, but you can definitely use it after 10-15 minutes of making this dough. So that is why it's very easy, and this is a recipe that I've been trying for a long time. Another thing is like originally, um, the dough to make empanadas, it's a dough that it is done with beef tallow. Okay, so I wanted to show it to you, even though today I'm going to be using butter, because butter it's much easier, of course, to find, and it's right now definitely most people might have some butter at home. But if you want, you can use beef tallow, and when you use beef tallow, then you can fry the empanadas. I wouldn't recommend frying empanadas when you use butter to make it, because the result is not going to be good. You should use, if you want to fry them, beef tallow, or you can also use vegetable shortening for that, but that is to your taste. Okay. And you can also use beef tallow when you are going to be sauteing the vegetables, because of course beef tallow is going to harden the same as butter, but even more. So the idea is that when you make a filling that you cook, it's cold. You see, like the texture is, it's going to be even a little dry, but when it goes to the oven or you fry them, then it's going to expand, and you're going to have a more like it's going to become the typical feeling that it's big, that it's tasty, and it's also a little creamy, which is what I like when I make beef empanadas. So I am going to start right now with this dough recipe. And what I like to use for everything when I'm making dough, it's using this, which is the scale. Um, I am going to be giving you the proportions to make approximately a dozen to 14 empanadas with a size of more or less 5 inches on diameter, okay? So for this, what I do is like I have all-purpose flour. These are 2 cups, but they are 250 grams, okay? That's why I use a scale for this, because even though I understand that most recipes here, they are with using cups, there are some recipes, and this is one of them, where I prefer to weight what I'm using, okay? So these are 2 cups of flour, okay, and or 250 grams of flour, all-purpose flour, and then I'm going to add a little bit of salt, okay? Salt is to your taste, but I add approximately 1 teaspoon, okay? So then what I like to do is like I mix, okay, the salt into the flour so that it's going to receive a little bit of salt all around the dough when you make it. And what I have is here that I already melted, but I am going to take it again here to be a little bit more hot. So what I have here is butter. These are 4 tablespoons of butter, or 50 grams of butter, with 120 milliliters of water. Okay, I'm using salted butter, but you can use unsalted butter or any butter that you have. I mean, like if you want to use even like I can't believe it's not butter, or you use something like that, you can also use it. So what I want this is to boil, okay? And the first boiling, when it starts boiling, it's when I am going to put here, I made a little hole here, and I'm going to be using this fork because this is going to be hot. So I mean, unless you are very brave and you want to put your hands directly, that it's up to you. But I strongly suggest you, because you're going to be using hot butter and water, boiling water inside, that the first couple of minutes when you are manipulating the dough, to help yourself with this so that you don't burn, okay? So now, what I want is this to start boiling for literally 1 second, and then it's when I am going to be pouring this here. Okay, so we're almost there. And the idea for this is that this is going to help. Oh, here it is, you see? Now, these are the bubbles, a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing, and Nico, if you want, you can show. I'm going to be throwing this here. And having this hot helps a lot with the texture of the dough. This is going to help the flour to absorb the oil that this has, because this is an oily and humid dough. So don't worry, don't think that this is going to be needing more flour. I suggest you that you manipulate this for like 5 to 8 minutes until you see if it needs more flour. But believe me that 98% of the time it's not going to need any more, okay? So what I like to do here is, like, I start kneading until everything comes together, okay? And this is hot, but I mean, it's manageable, so you can make it. And as you see, this is super fast. I mean, I think that it hasn't been like even 2 minutes, and this is ready. So now what I do is that I take this, and I don't even add more flour here, as you see. And what you're going to do is that you are going to be kneading this for approximately like 2 minutes. It doesn't need any more in this case. So what you want this is like everything is together and you have a smooth dough here. And of course, you're going to be giving this 1 more minute or two. Literally, it doesn't really need that much. But what it is important is that this doesn't dry. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put this and cover it with plastic wrap here. And I'm going to let it sit for approximately 10 minutes, okay? Before making, now we're going to make, I'm going to show the beef filling, one of the many I make, because there are different recipes, and also sometimes I want to add more or less things when I make the beef filling. But I want to tell you something, that if you want, you can find in many markets, this is the empanada dough, which is a typical brand that it's called Goya. You can find this in Budman's, in the Latino area, that they have a refrigerator, and also in many Walmarts, international markets. You can find it in many places. So if you don't want, or you can't, or whatever, to make the dough from scratch, you can always use this. And later I'm going to be making empanadas with the homemade dough. and with this for you to see the texture. The texture is different. I mean, this one has vegetable shortening. It's a different texture, but they're both good. Of course, homemade it's better, but I have to admit that I don't always make homemade empanadas, especially if I have people over and I'm entertaining and I'm making like 300 empanadas. Then sometimes I use a store bought dough. So now I am going to start making the beef empanadas, and I know that today is Good Friday, and many people are observing Good Friday. So later I'm going to show you another filling that I already made, that it's with tuna, and it's what we call empanadas de vigilia, which is what we typically have on Good Friday in Argentina, and I imagine like, well, and in Spain and in many other countries. That is another typical filling that we use especially for Easter. But the beef is the more popular, so that's why I'm going to be making here and showing you how I make the beef empanadas. So what I have here that I already starting sauteing, because this is going to take approximately otherwise 5 minutes, is that I am going to be using now, I'm making 2 pounds of beef, and with the 2 pounds of beef approximately you get 2 dozen empanadas, 2 dozen and a half. And what I like to use, it's a ground beef that it is 85% lean and 15% fat. Why do I want a little bit of fat here? Because again, you want this to be juicy when you have it, not liquid, but juicy to have that texture. So if you use the beef, ground beef that it's too lean, it's going to get a little dry, okay? And a ground beef that I love using is the one from Trader Joe's. I know that today you will use what you have if you're going to be making them, because of course we are quarantined. But this is grass-fed beef from Uruguay, which is right next to Argentina, and the beef is really good, and I really like it, and the price it's awesome too. So that's why when I can, I use this. Um, but while here I'm sauteing, okay, these are approximately two big sweet onions, okay, and I also used olive oil, and as in the end, when we finish the empanadas, I'm going to be putting the green part of the green onions to provide more taste, and this is something that I am not cooking now, I'm adding it at the end. I also added the white part of the green onions here. And I put a little bit of butter and olive oil. But you can also put, if you want, beef tallow, which is going to help a lot for it when it cools to be um, super hard. But then when it goes to the oven, it expands and it helps for them to become more juicy, okay? So here I have, okay, this is the onions with the green onions on the white side. And now, before adding the beef, what I'm going to be adding is the spices that I like to use. And again, this is very personal, and you can add any other spices that you like. But typically, what the beef empanada have are cumin, which is a typical spice that we use for this, oregano, and paprika or smoked pimenton. Then there are other things that you can use. We have in Argentina some sort of chili flakes that we call ají molido, that you can also use that if you want them to be a little bit on the more spicy side, but that is to you. So now I am going to add, and this is again to your taste. Many people add a lot of cumin. I don't love a lot of cumin. So for this, I am going to be adding, probably this is like a teaspoon of cumin. And what I want is like the onions get right now all the flavors from the spices, so that then all the filling is going to be good. I mean, tasty. And another thing that I like to do, some people use garlic. In my case, or they don't, I am going to add a little bit of garlic powder, but again, that is to your taste. Today I'm adding, sometimes I don't add, it depends on what I want. And I do use a lot of smoked paprika. I love paprika. If you follow me on Taste of Real Food, you're going to see that I am a big paprika lover. So I add paprika now and later when I add the beef, okay? Do you want to turn on the lights? Because maybe, I don't know if.
With the light, it will be better.
Do you see me better now? When I am, please,
Please, please
let me
speak
know.
up. Yes.
Okay. So now I'm also going to add oregano, and it's like 1 tablespoon of oregano uh, that I'm adding to the filling. And I haven't add salt yet. I am going to add a little bit of salt, okay? Now, before adding the beef, and then when I add the beef, I am going to add more salt here, okay? So here I have, these are 2 pounds of ground beef that I show you. And I'm going to help myself with this. I don't know if you have it at home, but it's really, really handy when you are working with ground beef. In Argentina, and sometimes, well, I do it here, empanadas, beef empanadas are also made with hand-cut beef. And by this I mean like many empanadas are made with beef tenderloin. I know this sounds crazy because of the price of beef tenderloin, but Argentina it's a country with lots of cattle, and it's something that many people do, and they are delicious. If you're going, then you can use other cuts, um, like you can find, I mean, other cuts that you cut pieces, very, very, very little pieces. And what you do is like you put them on a strainer, the little pieces of beef, if you're not going to be using ground beef. Those little pieces of beef, you boil water and you start pouring it so that it absorbs water, that beef that it's cut in pieces, so that then it's going to be moist, okay, when you are adding that to the filling. That is another way to make the beef empanadas, and many people do it like that in Argentina. Here this is going to be done super fast, but the beginning is the worst part because it's when the beef needs to cook. But this cooks super fast, and you're going to see what I add at the end for it to be a little bit more tasty. You see? And I like to use sweet onions, okay? I like the taste of them, but you can use any onions or less onions. I have to tell you that I'm not using as many onions as other recipes call for. Some people add like 2-3 onions per pound of beef because they say that this makes the empanadas more juicier. Um, I don't like that much onion, but again, that is to your taste. The most important thing with the filling is that the filling of anything that you are cooking, that you're not using a filling that is like ham and cheese empanadas, that you're not cooking it, it's like it's cold. Because the contact of any filling with the dough, if it is hot, it's going to make the dough melt and it's going to be very hard to manipulate. So I strongly recommend you that once you make this, at least it needs to be refrigerated for 1 hour or even more for you to be able to fill it. I mean, you can try to do the filling to use it to make the empanadas now, but it's going to be hard. So definitely the filling needs to be cold in the case of beef empanadas. And while this is cooking, I want to show you other things that in Argentina, it's instead of states, we have provinces, which is the same like Canada. And depending on the area, it's what they add to the beef empanada, aside from cutting the beef by hand or using ground beef, okay? In some places, and maybe in different countries too, when they make empanadas, they add, if you, and you can add them too. I mean, I'm giving you this as an idea. They add potatoes. What they do is that you dice potatoes and you can boil them a little bit, and at the end, you add them to the filling, okay? Other people also add like peppers. They dice peppers and they add it to the filling. Like many years ago, I used to make empanadas and I used to add peppers, and now I don't, for example. So again, that is to your taste. And also, some people add raisins, okay? And I don't know. I used to like empanadas. I know you hate them. My husband hates them.
I don't like them with
But
raisins.
you know, in
But it's
Argentina,
personal.
sometimes I like empanadas with raisins and with lots of green onions. And I mean, for a while I had them, and now I don't. But those are things that you can add if you want. They are going to be again to your taste. So now. Um, this takes approximately 10 minutes, okay, to have the filling ready, because you want, of course, the ground beef to be cooked because it's ground beef and you need to be careful with it. But you also have to remember that the more you cook it, the more it's going to dry, okay? So you just have to be sure that the filling is ready, it's cooked, that it's not pinkish, and then it's going to be done. So as I see that some areas are already cooked, and I'm moving it so that everything cooks well. I'm going to be adding salt now, okay? And for me, this is the amount of salt that I add. And to provide a little bit of more taste, I am going to add paprika, and I added this small paprika, but I have also other different. I'm a fan of paprika. This is a paprika I brought from Spain, but I mean, you can add paprika or not. That is to your taste. And I feel like I hope you can listen to the sizzling here, because when this becomes a little dry, I am going to add. Some people add a cubed tomato. Um, some people add tomato sauce. Some others don't add any tomatoes. And today I am going to be adding a little bit of tomato paste, okay? For this, like just probably this is like a tablespoon or more, 2 tablespoons probably, because this is what I have left. But why I am adding this? Because as I want these empanadas, when you eat them, to be juicy, soft, creamy, and you don't want them to open, but sometimes it is inevitably for them to open a little bit. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my tricks for them not to open. What I'm going to add a little bit of moisture and creaminess, and for them to taste, in my opinion, really good. It's like now when you see these, I add a little bit of beef bone, okay? Beef bone broth, or any broth that you have. And I let it cook for 1 minute. And at the end, for it to have this juicy and creamy texture, and for them not to open when you cook them, and this is going to help a lot when you take this to the refrigerator, is that I have here about a tablespoon of cornstarch, okay? And I'm going to add a little bit here of more broth. And the amount of broth you will use, it will depend, because sometimes when you use ground beef, the ground beef becomes really watery when you put it, because it depends on how much water the beef has. And unfortunately, that is something that I don't know when you use what you're going to be using. But the idea is that you have these a little bit of liquid. So what I do is that I add a little bit of cornstarch to this. But if I would be adding the cornstarch like this, then it would become lumpy. What I want to do by adding the cornstarch is like to have this a little creamier texture, and for it to be more juicy when you have them. So what I do is like I mix a little bit of beef broth or water or anything, because this is going to prevent, when I throw this here, to become lumpy or to have like those like white spots that don't look really nice when you add cornstarch to any preparation. So as you see, I let this for like 1 minute, and then this is ready. I mean, it smells. How does it smell?
Wonderful.
It smells good, I have to tell you. And this filling, you can use it when I finish it. As you see here, so this is done, okay? If I would be seeing more liquid around here, like coming up, I might wait for some seconds to see if the cornstarch is absorbing that liquid. But and if not, and if it is too liquid, I would add a little bit of more cornstarch. Okay, that is my suggestion for them not to be liquefied when you make the empanadas. So to finish this, um, and again, I want to reinforce that you should put this in the refrigerator before filling them. Is that I am going to put this, well, I'm going to do this later because I don't want you to make, to keep on talking and talking and talking about this so that you can finish. But when we finish this, what I do is like I add, these are the green part of the green, from the green onions, and I add this. And I don't cook this because they is like they have the taste, and in other countries, green onions have like a lot of flavor, and it's a little different from the taste from here, but this makes them taste a little bit more fresh. And another thing that I like adding, and again, that it's to your taste, are olives. These are already sliced olives, but you can buy them and slice them on your own to your taste. I love olives here, but again, many people hate to add olives. And also the quantity, again, to your taste and depending on how much filling you are making. You can also add a hard boiled egg. For that, if you add it, I would make, of course, the hard boiled egg separately. And then when the filling is already cold, you add diced hard-boiled eggs, or many people, other things they do is like they put in the disc of the empanada some of this filling, and they add a little bit on top of hard-boiled egg to control how much each empanada is going to be having. Again, that is to your taste, but these are some ideas for you to have. So as you see, this is the filling. Nico, can you help me like showing how it looks? So you see, um, this is the filling, okay? It looks, I hate the word moist, but definitely it looks moist, it looks creamy. So this how it should look when you take it to the oven and you eat the empanada. But now what you want is this to be cold, because again, it's impossible to manage dough. If you pour right now, this feeling that it's going to be super hot. So once this is cold, what you do is like you're going to start making the discs, okay? And to make the discs, there are different techniques that you can use. I mean, techniques, different ways. I already make a dough earlier because I wanted this to be a little bit more fast. But you can roll the dough all on like on a sheet together of dough, and you can use help yourself with a cutter. This is a 4-inch cutter that in diameter, so it's a small. I have to tell you that when I cut and I use these, I then expand a little bit and extend it with a roller pin I'm making the filling. Or you can help yourself with a bowl. This is a little bit of more, 5 inches bigger, but I would use a little bit of flour, like using flour here and then using it to cut. You can help yourself um, with a knife, okay, if you want it to work. And another way to make it, which is how I'm going to be making them today, because I am making a few empanadas only, is that you can give them a little round shape, okay? It's not going to be perfect with a roller pin, and it's okay because then you're going to be closing the empanada and you're going to be making what we call the repulgue. So you're not going to actually see how you make, if they're perfectly round or not, okay? So I help myself with a roller pin here. I put just a little bit of flour so that the disc doesn't stick to the countertop. And then here, what I have already, as I told you, is that I'm going to be showing you different ways to close the empanada, which is how we call this the repulgue, which is, I don't know why it's called like that, but that's how we know this. So as you see here, I have another filling that I make today that it's cold already, because when I make empanadas, the day I make empanadas, I make lots of empanadas, okay? I make different fillings, and it's the day that I make tons of them, so that then I do take them to the oven and cook them, and then we eat some of them, we keep it for during the week. My son takes to the school, the school, here, to a homeschool. And then I put the rest in the fridge. I keep them frozen, but already cooked. And why already cooked? If the dough is like this, you can put them and keep them in the fridge. But when you are using a store-bought dough, this comes already frozen. So you shouldn't be making them. This defrosts, and then you cannot frozen them again. So that is the reason if I'm buying this, that I cook them and then I am putting them in the fridge. And it's also super convenient if you pre-cook them, because then they are done super fast in like 10 minutes. With the oven at 425 Fahrenheit, you can have empanadas for lunch or for dinner or for to eat, okay, or as a snack, whatever you want. So now I am going to show you here with this disc. This is the filling that I made with red onions, sweet onion, peppers, tuna, black olives, and it also has, of course, pimenton, garlic powder, and oregano, and that's it. I mean, oh, and I also added just a pinch of brown sugar, but just a little bit, because I like the taste and the combination of it with the sort of caramelized onions. Okay, so here what I have, you see, the good thing when you are making the dough is that it's super easy to manipulate. You see how easy this is it? I just made this. Look, so the most important thing is that you close it here and that you don't leave any air, okay? That it's crucial for them not to open, okay? So you have to be sure that these are closed, okay? So then you start, okay? I'm going to put them here and look how I start closing the empanada, okay? So this is ready to put them here. I have a parchment paper, you see, and I start putting them here. If you want, you can also take them to the refrigerator for 10 minutes, so that everything is cold, and then it's going to be better in the oven. But I mean, of course, if you're making tons of empanadas and you don't want, it's okay. I'm going to make another one because I want to show you other ways of how you can close the empanada, because that is one way. But then I'm going to show you one that is super easy, and this one is easy because it helps the empanadas not to open, okay, in the oven, which is the easiest one. And you make a sort of like capellettini, like Italian. So you close, you see, you close it. Then you bring this up like a little hat, and on the ends you put this together, and here you have another empanada. And a typical and classic one, if you feel like you don't want to be, or like you're scared of playing with dough, this is like adult play dough. Another way how you can close an empanada is that here I am extending a dough. I don't know if you want to show how easy I am doing this. So what I did is like I divided it in little balls and I weighed them, okay, so that the weight is similar for all of them. You see, this is super easy. This dough, it's really amazing. And another way, which is the easiest one, and it's the one I used to make a lot when I was a child and I was helping my mom to make empanadas at home, is that I close. You can use water here to close the empanada. It will depend if it is how dry is the dough. Um, Hopefully it won't dry, because that is not good for this dough. That is why I would keep it in the parchment paper and cover. Here I have them with parchment paper cover and also with a towel, okay? And this is the easiest one. You use a fork, you close it, and again, always be sure that there is no air here, okay? And you press with a fork, and you have another empanada. So when you take this to the oven, you can take this. I use my oven at 450, but 400 should be perfect. The thing is that my oven is acting funny, so that's why I'm using 450. But at 400 preheated oven, that should be great. Between 400 and 450, you know your oven. And what you can do is you can brush with egg wash the empanadas on top. I do that. Some people don't like it. Some people add sugar after they put the egg wash too on top, a little bit. That is to your taste. The empanadas are done when you know that they are golden, and when you touch them, they are like you knock them and they sound like shallow, okay? But mostly this is it. I mean, you see how easy is this dough to make, and the fillings are endless. What I would always recommend is like if you're making ham and cheese empanadas, to add one egg or two, mix it, and also add a little bit of cornstarch, okay? So that then the filling, okay, it's together and then it expands, and you can make like little balls with that to put this as a filling. So it's very easy to manipulate when you do that. But you can also add eggs, ricotta, basil, tomatoes. The options are endless. I hope that you like the. I don't know if you have any questions.
We had a question on the line
Okay.
about where do you get the beef tallow if you order it online?
Yes, I ordered this on Amazon, and I ordered like I haven't. This is the first time that I found it. I never actually found this. It's really really good. Honestly, it's the best beef tallow that I found here since I've been living here for like 11 years now, and it doesn't taste funny like fat or like you can actually taste. This is like grass fed beef tallow, and I am really happy with this brand. And you have to keep it refrigerated once you open it, and it lasts for approximately 3 more months there. But you can cook with it. You can use it instead of oil. You can use beef tallow. It's like coconut oil, or it works exactly like that. So, well, I don't know if you have any questions. I am going to be finishing the empanadas, the ones that I make here with tuna. I'm going to put in the refrigerator the dough for the beef ones. And then later, I'm going to be posting the recipe and a picture of how the empanadas turn. Okay. So that's it.
That is
Okay,
all.
that it's all. I don't know because this has a delay. This video is going to be available. I am pretty sure it is going to be available, and I don't know if you have any questions. So otherwise, you can check later on Taste of Real Food, which is my Instagram account, and probably here at Gorton. You can write me, you can send any messages, and if you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed and that you make the empanadas and that you let me know that you make them. Okay, thank you. Bye.